Thank you so much for joining us today for This Needs to Be Said. We're being joined by our newest commentator, Ms. Angel Dunworth of StreetLightHalo.com. Check out the resources at her website. Each time she comes, she brings a heavy elephant in the room. Angel, what do you have for us today?
Well, today, actually, I have the new face of addiction, but more than that, I have drug paraphernalia that parents may not know about and hiding places that parents and spouses may not know about so that you can make sure that your home is drug-free.
All right. Well, I got my pen and paper out. You post interesting things, so if people are not following you on Facebook, they need to. I saw one of the things you posted the other day, and my mouth just was wide open because these are things we don't think about, ways that people are smuggling things in or trying to, just hide it, going through the trouble of hiding something. So new faces of addiction, I'm totally interested in what I need to be aware of, and the audience should be too. So I got pen and paper out. I'm ready for you, okay?
All right, great. Well, I'm not really trying to be a whistleblower too much. It's just that if things start disappearing around your house, and you may be wondering, why is my child suddenly out of sorts, or my spouse, or whoever, and you may want to look for a few of these things. So since I've stopped drinking and drugging, alcoholism has completely changed. The way kids are using alcohol today so that we won't smell it on their breath, one way that they do this is called rummy bears. And what rummy bears are they're like gummy worms made with Jello and vodka. And these are pretty popular during school because adults, if they see somebody walking down the hall during lunch and throwing a candy in their mouth, aren't really going to think too much about it. But they're actually found a way to drink during school and during class without us catching on. Another thing people are doing is smoking alcohol. This is extremely dangerous. And the way they do that is they put dry ice in a bottle and they cover that with vodka and then you cap it. See, then it swells. When the ice melts, it swells. It can explode. What you're supposed to do is open it before it explodes and inhale the fumes. Okay, but in most cases, it just explodes because you don't get the cap off fast enough. Also, this is bigger in Britain than here. Snorting alcohol. People that are doing this tend to fall right on the floor, and they have to be taken immediately to the hospital. That is exactly what it sounds like. Of course, we've already talked about eyeballing on a previous show. And another thing that's becoming really big in California especially is drinking hand sanitizer and cough syrup. 15 kids in California died in 1 month by doing that. Okay, hand sanitizer and cough syrup do contain alcohol, but it's not the kind of alcohol you drink. It's the kind you sterilize wounds with. So if you're drinking hand sanitizer for the alcohol, I hate to break it to you, that's not the kind that you're supposed to drink. Also, as we discussed before on a previous show, if it's not going in through your mouth the way it was intended, then it cannot come out your body properly. Your body cannot break it down. So it's just there for good. If you don't think that drugs and alcohol store, you need to go and Google someone named Andy Gibbs. 2 years sober, had a heart attack from cocaine abuse because it stores in your fat cells. So if it's not done naturally, it's not coming out. You can literally pickle yourself by doing these things. Okay, other drugs that are trending nowadays that weren't around in my day are bath salts that you would buy in like Bath and Body. Okay, the funniest thing about it is that while they're sold at chain stores, because they're safe when they're not consumed, they don't actually dissolve in bath water. The only real use for bath salts is to get high, which I guess most chain stores really, they don't know that because it's labeled as a bath salt. But when they're snorted, smoked, or injected, they cause extreme agitation, hallucinations, delusions, chest pains, suicidal thoughts, high blood pressure, acute toxicity, hyperthermia, delirium, violent behavior, foaming at the mouth, extreme paranoia, delusional parasitosis. Let me say that again. Delusional parasitosis and Parkinson's-type twitching, paranoia, and severe insomnia. I don't know if anyone watches the Florida news. I still have friends in Florida. A homeless man around the area of Collins Avenue actually ate his friend's face after using bath salts. And then he dropped over dead.
Wow.
So if that's really the experience that you want in your life, go right ahead. But I've never known a high that I really wanted to die for. Certainly not one that I wanted to take someone with me. Also, another thing that's being sold, and this is sold in just about any head shop and just about any crappy gas station, is something called synthetic marijuana, okay? And it's able to be sold without any kind of regulation because it's sold as an herbal supplement. But people are, of course, smoking it because it's synthetic marijuana. But this is not marijuana that you're smoking, guys. It's marked as an herbal product, but it is much closer to methamphetamine. Why? Because it's not marijuana. It's basically grass or plants or whatever they had that dried up around, wherever they were making it. And it is soaked in pesticides, 409, Windex, whatever chemical they had laying around. Look on the package. There's no FDC approval. There's no health approval for smoking it because you're not supposed to smoke it. It's marked as an herbal supplement to get it into the country. But when you're smoking this, you're smoking window cleaner. You're smoking pesticide. You're smoking whatever they had to soak it in that day. For all you know, you could be smoking urine. You don't know what's in that. They don't have to list the contents because it's not supposed to be for human consumption. So that's something to think about. When you're taking something that you just found in a gas station somewhere, just because it's legal doesn't necessarily mean you should use it to get high. High may not necessarily be a good thing. It's not been tested for 100 years, so you don't know what's going to happen if you try it. Okay, one thing I wanted to address, if it's all right, is little-known drug paraphernalia, because I know that there are a lot of parents now, like when I looked these things up, I was stumped. Even as an addict, my mouth was hanging open. So the newer drug paraphernalia I'd like to discuss so that parents and spouses and sometimes even kids know what it is, know what to look for, and can be observant of their surroundings. Okay, soda cans with holes in them are used for crack pipes and base pipes. If you're finding water bottles around your home with holes burned them from cigarettes, that's for crack or for smoking alcohol, but that would not necessarily have a hole in it. But if you're just seeing water bottles just laying around for no reason, you might want to look into that. If your children are bringing home Chore Boy scouring pads all the time, or any really kind of metal-based scouring pad, and they're not doing the dishes, they're probably making pipes. Gas cans. If you're finding gas cans and paint cans and Mod Podge, but your child's not necessarily doing artwork, these are for use in inhalant deaths. Inhalant deaths are rampant. We'll discuss that on a later show, however. The fabric roses in the glass tubes that you see in the gas stations, and you wonder why anyone would, pay that $2 and be really cheap on their date like that. That's because those are actually crack pipes, and then both types of those are used with heroin most of the time. Shoelaces, you see kids running, hanging around your kid a lot, acting really delusional, and they have shoelaces always hanging out of their pockets. Those are for shooting up. You've got to tie your vein off first. Socks. You see socks in those crappy gas stations, and you wonder why are they locked up in the glass case? It's so the junkies don't steal them to spray the paint in them and inhale it. That's why they lock them up in the case, because otherwise, it's socks. Why would you do that? Okay, so I also would like to say really good hiding places for baggies, because parents really should know about these. Because unless you're a recovering addict, you probably don't know about these. Toilet tanks, of course, that's one of the popular ones that people know about. But also, addicts use stripped-out electronic devices and appliances. I actually knew one dealer. It was actually a pretty serious dealer at one time, and they were about to be busted by the DEA because, instead of, staying out of prison for the rest of their life, they decided they'd go back to doing the same thing. They removed the guts of their brand-new television and stereo, and they just put all their drugs in there. Now, if you don't think that the dealer is telling the junkie how to hide their drugs, you're wrong, because the dealers want to keep you hooked. You're their bread and butter. So they're telling your kids these things, even if the person that's doing the substance really wouldn't have figured this out. In a drug culture, this is common knowledge. This is told to each other, this is how I got away with it, so that you can get away with it, because misery loves company. Any cabinet with a small lip or ledge underneath, reach up under there, run your fingers along there. You could find a baggie in there, a joint, any kind of pills, anything small that we can hide, well, we will hide in there. Gutted PC towers. If your child is suddenly collecting all these PC towers and they really aren't doing much with the computers, you need to open that up and look inside, see if there's any drugs or alcohol stashed in there. The underneath of your dresser drawers. If you take out the dresser drawers and reach underneath, there's always a ledge on the back where you can tape your baggie without it really affecting the way your drawer comes in and out. Door frames, if they're wide at the top, those kind that look like they look like they're coming out of the wall. A lot of people have those in the more modern apartments. Reach up there, see if there's a baggie up there. Behind canvas paintings, that's another good one, because nobody's going to remove the painting to see if there's anything behind it. Also, in trash cans, between the bottom of the can and the bag is a place where drugs are commonly hidden, or bottles. Gutted speakers for your stereo. You got those speakers in the room that don't work, but they don't want to give them away for sentimental reasons. A bell ought to be going off. And insofar as your kid's car, if you want to check your kid's car in places where you wouldn't normally look, you would want to look taped into the fender of the car, or right under that metal shell of the body by the car door. Also, they like to tape them behind bookshelves that have a backing, or under the console or coin holder of the car. So these are places parents wouldn't normally look. I had sadly had this discussion with a relative of mine who is very worried that their child is using, but luckily she did not find anything. So we're very happy about that. When I thought about it, I thought, how many parents don't know? How many people don't know where to look, where the stuff's being hidden? Because even if you know they're using, you want to make sure they're not using on your property. Your house could be taken, or they could just die right there in front of you. So I can tell you, though, pouring our bottles down the sink, that's not going to make us stop drinking. We'll just go out and buy more bottles. And that's true. But if you want to know what substances are being used and you want to find them in your home to dispose of them, that would be where you would look. So, yeah. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm sorry.
Floored. Yeah,
you were just so quiet.
I'm just listening. I'm just floored by, wow, there's so much creativity, and I know we said we spend all that time being so creative, hiding stuff. Why can't you spend that time, doing something more constructive with your time or with yourself? But, wow. But answer that question for me, because those of us who are not in that situation will think that way. Well, if you can think of all those things, to hide and to keep them from you, to manipulate, why aren't you using that for a better purpose? And what do you say to that?
Well, basically, alcoholism or drug addiction, you've experienced euphoria someplace during that use. And you will do anything it takes. You'll go to any lengths to get that back. You'll probably never get that feeling back. But as an addict or an alcoholic, you will not stop trying until you try to get that feeling back, or until the hand of God, as they say, hits you and says, hey, you're going to be dead in about 5 seconds. You don't straighten up. But that's a decision we have to make in our own self.